Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Perfectly Imperfect with me, Marcy. Thank you so much for joining me on yet another episode. And thank you so much for the love you've shown all the other episodes we have on YouTube. Your episode, your corporate email trend. Kwani, what's going on in corporate? Anyway, thank you so much for the love. On TikTok, especially, it's I don't know, me hata sijui niseme nini, but thank you guys for your support. It really means a lot. So this is gonna be a very fun episode. I'm shooting alone today. And yeah, so I hope you've watched all the rest of the episodes. The one I did with Shovi, the one I did on corporate, of course, najua most of you may watch, and the one I did on healing my childhood traumas. So I really hope that it's been a fun ride for you up to this point. If you're a new listener, watcher, I don't know. If you're new here, welcome so much to this podcast and platform. My name is Marcy. I'm the host. And yeah, make sure you subscribe. Tafadhali, guys, make sure you subscribe. Imagine 1.3k of you have watched a video and not subscribed. Imagine kama mmoja wenu, all of you went ahead and subscribed. Sasa tungekuwa mbali sana. Anyway, I'm not here to lecture you guys. Make sure you subscribe, comment, like, and share all the good things, especially sharing, because sharing really goes a long way in ensuring that people know there's such a platform like this that exists. So before I go right into the episode, I'd like to say that we still have our merchandise on sale. I was wearing a t-shirt from the merchandise in the last episode. So if you'd like yourself a t-shirt, we have polo t-shirts, crop t-shirts, and normal t-shirts. And then we have journals. And yeah, basically that's the merchandise we have. We can try to customize it a bit to your liking so that it can be a bit closer to your heart, like I always say. So in the meantime, make sure you're following Perfectly Imperfect with Marcy on Instagram and TikTok. And I don't know why my personal handle will be helpful in this situation, but yeah. My personal handle is Gatweri Morioki. There's a lot of nothing on that page. You can follow as well. So let's get right into this episode. I don't know. I've been trying to set like a certain mood here on this platform. So I don't know come I'm caught up with the mood that I'm trying to set. As you can see, I'm a very unserious human being in real life, but I'm also a professional yapper. So I really try to keep this episode short. Todo, the people with me in studio. Wananikaza kweli kweli, but being a professional yapper, guys, is not easy. So there's an episode I did, but this is not audiovisual, it's only audio. It was on taking risks, and I was basically asking the question whether it's worth taking the risk. And this is the thing with me, guys. When I ask a question on my podcast, I'm usually very clueless. But trust me, when I get an answer, I'll definitely come back here to this platform to give you the answer to the question I asked. I don't really ever think there's an episode I've questioned something and then not come back with the feedback, because sometimes it's usually just me expressing my genuine feelings of how I feel about topics, about life, about every other thing that revolves around me. This is basically me expressing my genuine feelings about what I feel day-to-day life and everything that revolves around adulting and the topics I talk about on this podcast. So every time I ask a question, I'll definitely come back here with the answer if I get the answer. Kama sijakuja kujibu hiyo swali kama singleness, I do not have anything to say about that topic. Todo sina experience. Anyway, so I did the episode. I don't remember whether it's episode 93 or 94. And I was asking whether it's worth taking the risk. And lately I've been taking so many risks. Like this year, Nikama, I just decided this is the year I'm going to take all the risks possible. Because I remember last year a lot of things were really holding me back last year from doing so many things I wanted to do. Even with this podcast, guys, I wanted to launch the merchandise. This was actually since 2022. I wanted to, what else did I want to do with the podcast? Yeah, I wanted to start YouTube last year, but I don't know, fear was just holding me back. Fear is still there, but it's not like holding me back, because as you can see me on your screen. But there are a lot of things I wanted to do last year but one, but fear has been holding me back like properly. And somehow I had the energy this year to do all these things that I've been fearing to do. And one thing I realized about doing things afraid is that you have nothing to lose. Like the worst that can happen is, I don't even know what's the worst that can happen, because the worst that can happen is maybe these things cannot, like mambo vitu zinaweza kosa kuingiana, like things might not always go your way, but at least you tried, which in my opinion is honestly the boldest step you can take in this life. Because for me, I was very much afraid of, if things don't work out for me, I'm like, what if they don't go my way? What if I don't, get what if what I'm investing does not come back to me in equal measure? And that is mostly what has been holding me back. Now, a while back, I've been talking about my job for the longest time. I've been talking about how I'm going to work, da da da. And I remember when I was talking about the episode that I did on taking risks, I sat down and analyzed so many things and started over analyzing and started overthinking before I took the step. Now, mostly when I was recording the episode on whether it's worth the risk, honestly, the only thing that was disturbing me in that at the time, or I'd say something that was really draining me mentally and emotionally, was my job. And it was so hard for me to the point that I couldn't get like a good night's sleep. Like I wasn't sleeping like the best sleep. I would just go to bed and in the morning I'm just like I'm tired. I have eye bags because I have not slept well, because I'm constantly thinking about things to do with work. Now, don't get me wrong, the workload was not a lot. Like it was okay. I could deal with the workload. But now when it gets to a point where the job is getting to you mentally, emotionally, and you're physically drained and you're not able to even do your job as productive as it's supposed to be. And I feel like I need to mention that I was working in customer service. And in customer service, one of the key things in customer service is to make sure that every person you interact with leaves there feeling valued, heard, and seen. So this means that for them, it's more than just a service. It's more of an experience. So this job actually requires you to be fully you every day, hour to hour, because one customer calls with an issue, even if another customer calls with the same issue, you need to remember that it's not the same customer you talked to 2 minutes ago. So you really need to be yourself. You really need to like give it your all. Otherwise, it's honestly not service. And when it got to that point, I was thinking to myself that I don't see why I should be here and I'm not, and the callers, or I'd say the customers, are not leaving the call feeling heard, valued, or seen. Because if there's one thing I really strive to do in that job is to make sure that when you interact with me, if you're having a bad day, I can at least try to make your day a little bit better. Well, you can't fix everyone else. You can't fix everyone and everyone's problems, but at least I would try to fix the issue that you're having with the company I was working for. So it got to a point where I wasn't really feeling that way when I woke up to go to work. I was just feeling like I'm just gonna go to work to speak to these people because I need to speak to them. And it got to a point where I was just like, okay, honestly, these people are just calling because they have problems that I need to solve. But that is not what I envisioned myself to do at this job. So, and let me tell you guys, I have, kama kuna watu wenye I have mad respect for now. And I remember someone on the last episode said I need to reduce Kiswahili because apparently I have international listeners. Anyway, so what I was saying is, if there's people I respect right now, is people who are in like toxic relationships, toxic jobs, because I have learned firsthand, how hard it is to let go of toxic things. My job was really it was a good environment. Management was well good. It was okay. It was an okay job, but it was draining me, like I said, emotionally and physically. And like I said, you have to solve people's problems. So it's that's like it takes a toll on your mental health, because if you're constantly being shouted at, if you're constantly being insulted or harassed by people who don't even know you, you just introduce yourself in English. You say, hi, thank you for calling, my name is, and then the next question that person is asking you is, do you speak English? And you're like, bro, I just said my name in English. So but I remember I stayed for so long. I stayed for longer than I should have. And I used to come home every day and tell my sister how the job is draining me, but she could also see it actually. I remember there's a point I was really struggling with the job, and my mom was like, I don't even feel like I know you anymore. You're not happy, you're not yourself. And like everyone could see it, including my friends sometimes. And trust me, I woke up every day for I don't know how many more months to go to this same exact job that I'm complaining about. I woke up each and every day to go to this same environment, to work at this same place, to give it like my energy. And it's not as easy as we say it. we just come here and say, leave that toxic boyfriend, leave that toxic girlfriend, leave that toxic relationship or job. It's not easy, I know. And me, honestly, I've just learned to allow people the grace that they need, as long as you don't stay there for too long. Because if you stay there for too long, then you definitely miss out on some other things. So I called this episode "A Little Faith Goes a Long Way" for a reason, because when it got to the point where I was like, now it's time to call this job quits, I it was literally just a step of faith. I didn't have anywhere else to go. Like, I didn't have another approval letter or another letter to report to another job or to start another job. I was literally clueless. And I remember when I gave it the thought of quitting, I just took leave and stayed home without applying, without doing anything, without even looking at LinkedIn or anything else to do with jobs. I just slept for a good, I think, like week. I was just sleeping, eating, and repeating, because I felt like I needed to give myself time to come to be in touch with the reality. Because I used to work 10 hours a day, and I used to get off work at around 10 p.m. By the time I get home, it's close to 11:30, or sometimes close to midnight, or on good days at 11, before 11:15. So most of the time, and I used to clock in at work at 12 noon. So most of the time when I'm getting out of the house, it's either too early, places are not open, or when I'm coming now out from work, it's too late, there's nothing I can like get done. And on my off days, trust me, I tried as much as possible to be outside on my off days to run errands, But most of my off days, I was actually sleeping because I was drained. So, anyway, I didn't have anywhere else to go. I didn't have any other job. I didn't know anyone else who could connect me to to another job at Evo Tupap. I just went home and slept for a whole week to just give myself time and the grace. And then now I started getting in touch with whatever. I also need to mention that on my job, by the way, we were not having our phones while working. So it's also 10 hours of you. Basically, I'd say 9. The working hours are 9. So it's 9 hours without your phone. And then now you can only use your phone on breaks or meals or anything like that. So it was really even super hard for me to manage things to do with my podcast. Sometimes I go for my meal. I only have like 30 minutes to eat and be back to work, and I can't reply to all these calls. When I get off work, it's 11 a.m. and it's 11 p.m. and people are asleep. I'm like, how do I even call you at 11 p.m.? So you couldn't get so many things done. But I'm really grateful for the opportunity to work there, to meet a lot of amazing people in that place. I have met so many people, good people. I have made so many friends, and I'm grateful for that. So that was that was not even my first step of faith, but it's among the steps of faith that I've taken. That was one of them, quitting my job without any other solution. And I remember I was talking to my sister, and I was very, very worried. I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to do things. I don't know how I'm going to foot my bills. And one thing that my sister said to me is, do you think God does not know you have all these needs? Like, do you think by the time you're quitting this job, God does not know you have bills you need to pay? And I just realized, honestly, I was just anxious, too anxious for no reason, because, I'm going to quote the Bible. The Bible says, do not be anxious or do not worry about anything, right? But through prayer and thanksgiving, submit your request known to God. So the other step of faith that I took, honestly, is starting this YouTube channel, because Perfectly Imperfect has really pushed me to, hey, can't even. It's really pushed me to, I'd say, to be a greater version of myself, but it's not been the easiest journey, because I've always had to come up, to show up for my platform, whether I'm emotionally drained or not, and even starting now this YouTube it's been a long way coming. It's been a thing of me overanalyzing and me overthinking. I'm like, so what if people don't subscribe? What if people don't listen? What if people don't like the content? What if? And it ended up with me overanalyzing and overthinking, and constantly thinking about, I don't have the equipment, I don't have a place to record, I don't have this. But one day just sat and I was like, okay, now what do I have to start this thing? What do I have? And from that point now I was able to work with what I had, and what I did not have, then I started sourcing for people who can help me with that. That was another step of faith. Another thing was actually the podcast merchandise, because I can tell you, I think that was in February. end of February, I took like, I think that was my entire salary, and I just put it on the March. And I was like, I'm just getting the March with this salary. I don't know whether it's going, well, I don't know whether people are gonna buy. I don't know whether my salary will be back. I don't know whether my investments will be back. Because I remember now on the next month, March now, I was like super broke. Like I was properly broke. Ile properly. And I was just thinking to myself, like, I took every single coin I had at the time and put it in this thing. And apart from putting that, I put in my mind, I put in my thoughts, I had planned for that thing. And the reason, something that has really been holding me back from actually having the match produced was it was actually financially, I wasn't financially stable last year. I wasn't really like in a good place financially, and I'm not really the kind of person who's open to telling their parents, I need you guys to support me so that I can have merchandise. I have not even told my parents to support me because I have a YouTube channel, guys. And simply because I my parents are not really like the, you see, I really wish sometimes my parents were content creators because then they would really understand everything that I'm talking about and everything I really want to do. But now I have to sit down with them, tell them what a podcast is, why I'm podcasting, why I need to see how many thousands for me to have a single episode up. So I've never really even told my parents, you know what, I have a YouTube channel, guys, like, ni supportini na hiyo road. So I remember that month I didn't even tell my parents to give me money or whatever. I just put my whole salary there. I started like selling the merch. I remember I also did like a very minimalistic shoot. It was not what I had envisioned to do, because ilifika 2 point and I'm like, I really cannot afford to do this because I will walk to work. So I remember the whole month I was just broke, and I can promise you the whole first week was the merch bought. So I remember just going to work and I was like, this is the last 4,000 I have in my pocket. Yeah, I had also put my savings in that, I remember, in the March. So I was like, this is the last 4,000 I have. This can't even like pay my fare for a month. If the merchandise doesn't move, I don't know what I'm going to do. The whole week, silence. Usually to congratulations kwa DM. Congratulations for the match. Oh my God, you're doing so great. I'm like, girl, I'm doing so great. I wish. So went like that I think it was the whole first week and half of the second week. Then now I started getting orders like that. And then I was like, oh yeah, it's not bad after all. The month was really a hard one. March really kicked my ass because I was like, I cannot do this. And I didn't even, like, I wouldn't even tell my friends that I don't have this. Mi nilikuwa tu hapo kigangster. It's like, we are going to eat Weetabix at work until the merchandise finally pays off. So yeah, and eventually, honestly, it's not like where I'd want it to be. I still have like very high hopes of this platform and the podcast, but I'm really grateful that at least I took the step and it worked. I'd say it worked. Not how I had envisioned it, but I think this is how, maybe I'd say God envisioned it. And the thing is, with me constantly over-analyzing and with me constantly overthinking on how I'm going to hit all these milestones or how I'm going to do all these things with no help whatsoever, it somehow negates the what? It somehow negates the idea of faith or the concept of faith. Now, faith, I think how the Bible describes it, it says that faith is the evidence of things. No, it's let me get the Bible verse. I'm sure I have it somewhere. Of course I have it because while I was prepping for the episode, I did what? Yeah, I had it. So let me just retrieve it real quick, then I can read it for you guys. So it says this is Hebrews 11 verse 1. It says, now faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So faith is basically confident conviction that things that you do not see are going to happen. So if you're constantly overthinking, if you're constantly overanalyzing, if you're constantly thinking about how you're going to do all these things, and you're constantly analyzing what it's gonna be like when you take that step, then you're negating the idea or the concept of faith. Because the Bible says faith is just, you don't see these things, but you're fully convinced that they're going to happen. So you don't see yourself becoming the best content creator. You can't see yourself working with these brands, but you are confidently convicted that one day you're going to become that person. So it's more like I'd say doing things blindly. And it's such a weird concept because when you start overthinking and overanalyzing, it's not faith. You don't have faith, or you're what? You're, I don't know, you're like, you're not seeing things from a faith perspective. You're not seeing things from a realistic point of view. And one of the things I've really learned with this all these steps I've taken is that if you look at them from a realistic point of view or from a real life point of view, you're not going to do these things. Because if you sit down and you're in this toxic workplace and you're like, I don't see how I'm going to pay my bills, I don't see how I'm going to pay my rent, then you're looking at it from a point of like, I need to still work so that I can foot these bills, which is negates the fact, the concept of faith. So I'm not here to tell you ati quit your job because of faith. I don't know, cut links with whatever, how the means that you're getting to pay your bills. I'm not here to say that. I'm just here to say that sometimes you don't need to overanalyze everything because you cannot have everything figured out. I don't think there's anyone who has their life figured out like in totality. I don't think there is, like, hakuna kabisa. So for me with my job, and I'm talking about my job and I'm talking to someone who's in my position, I sat down. I did not just wake up one day and go. I actually woke up one day and walked out of work. But you can best believe I was there the next morning again and I had to answer. The email found me very well. The email of leaving work without notifying anyone. And best believe I woke up the next morning and the next day and the next week and the next month and I went to this job until I actually sat down and analyzed the pros and the cons of if I quit my job and if I don't quit my job. What are the pros? What are the cons? And the cons actually outweighed, no, the cons outweighed the pros. Yeah. But I was just like, I'm just going to do it anyway because I feel like I need rest. And that is something that I have done. And I can promise you, I'm still here saying, please find attached a copy of my CV. And I don't even know how's that going to work, how that is going to work out. So for me, honestly, just take the step. Just take the step with faith. Like, just take that step of faith. Instead of thinking of how you don't have these things, instead of thinking, oh, I don't have this, I can't be like this, I can't be like this. What do you have? What do you have, like, right now? If you're looking to start a business, what is it that you have? If you have 2 G's, like, is that enough to at least start you off? If you have 10 G's, is that enough to at least start you off before you can rent a space for you to do these things? If you're starting to like become a podcaster like me, for example, stop looking at what you don't have for you to start this podcast. What do you have? Like, and then start with what you have. Even starting this podcast for me was literally a step. I just started with my phone, and I can promise you I didn't even have the best phone. Your time nilikuwa na I think it was a Techno. It was a Techno, and then it broke the screen at some point. I couldn't even upload episodes of my podcast because I can't see one side of the screen. But I was still here, and podcasts were not even that like common at the time. So just take the step of faith. If you're it's just all about being fully convinced that it's going to happen, even though you don't see it. And then if you just start with that step of faith, then the Lord can just go ahead and increase the faith. Like how how Jesus talks about the mustard seed, something so small, but it blossoms to something so big. It's the same thing with faith. And with most of these people that we see out here, including celebrities, we just see things like bigger things coming. They're announcing their bigger wins. And we think that they just woke up and did this thing. But maybe there was some investment. There was some fear that was trying to hold them back, but they still did it anyway. If there are 2 things I have learned that they can coexist, is that you can have fear, but you can still do it. So you can still do it afraid. I'm also like still doing it afraid. Do you think I'm like comfortably sleeping at night because I have a channel? I'm also like very afraid. I'm like, oh my God, what if this goes wrong? You can do it, and you can do it afraid as well. So fear doesn't have to really hold you back because it's all in your head. It's a mindset. I used to think I'm not ever gonna come on set with my face not beat. I was thinking, oh my God, nitakujaje on set without makeup and lashes? Like, that is detrimental to the girl's brand when you're on a YouTube channel. But here I am. So it's basically just a little faith kidogo hivi tu, kama hiyo tu nini patience yenye uko nayo to the other gender, hiyo tu, put it now in faith and then everything is going to work out. So yeah, I feel like I had something else to say. Ni kama ime disappear, but yeah, two things. Oh yeah, I was saying you can actually, the beauty of this life is that you can try and try again and try again until you get it right. And if it doesn't work out for the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, at least you will have tried, instead of just sitting on your idea at home and not doing anything about it. So guys, I think here's to doing things afraid, here's to doing things with faith, because like I said, a little faith goes a long way. So yeah, hey, feel ni kama nimekuwa motivational speaker sana. Please call me to mentor your teenagers. Your teenagers in the church. Anyway, I'm joking, guys. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Before I wrap it up, I'd like to say, please remember to subscribe, comment, like, and share, because kupata subscribers is not for the weak. But please remember, you make sure you have subscribed, and you can actually check right now. Imagine unaweza kuwa unadhani umesubscribe na hauja subscribe, and then ukiangalia uko like, sikuangi nimesubscribe. Anyway, subscribe, guys, like, comment, and share. I'd really love to hear your thoughts, especially on this episode. And if you have your thoughts, just say them. I'm reading some very, I don't know what, comments on TikTok, and I'm like, wow. You guys have no shame. Mnasema tu vitu huko. Anyway, I'd really love to interact with you guys. If you're listening on an audio platform, there's a question, there's kind of like a comment thing, especially on Spotify. You can comment there as well. I'd really love to hear what you have to say about the episode. And yeah, I think before I go, I'd like to say we also have the merchandise on sale. Please get your merchandise. Siku moja nitawaambia mtokee kama mmevaa uniform ya Perfectly Imperfect kama wewe rafiki yangu. Just kidding. Anyway, yeah, so make sure you at least get yourself a piece of the merchandise, and of course recommend me to your boyfriend and friends. Tell them about my podcast. Mkienda kunisengenya leo usiku pillow talk, musubscribe kwanza, and then you can go on with your shenanigans. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being with me on this episode. I hope it was a fun episode for you. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.